Hello guys, this is PushDustIn from Source Gaming, and joining me today is MagcargoMan. He's been on Source Gaming several times with guest articles that include representation of Mario games with stages in Smash, and he's also extended that series with Zelda, Pokemon, and Kirby.
Hello everyone.
Today we're going to be talking about clone characters in Smash, specifically clone characters in Smash for Switch. But before that, I thought it would be appropriate to discuss our feelings on clone characters in the Smash series in general. Especially because MagcargoMan and I have a very different opinion on clone characters. So, for me personally, I don't think clone characters are that big of a deal. I think they actually add a lot to Smash in general and other fighting games as well. But MagcargoMan feels pretty differently. Is that right?
I don't like the idea of clone characters. I feel the idea of characters that share movesets with another is a bit tacky and lame. Especially now that fighting games these days have heavy character customization, so the point of clones seems a bit more redundant when you could just change your character's stats and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a bit of a filler content, like just to pad out the roster, and it takes like completing modes with every character longer.
Yep.
And one other thing is the moveset potential is a bit wasted because some of these characters that are clones have abilities of their own they're not using in Smash, which I feel is a big waste of potential.
So you'd rather characters like Roy and Lucina just be compiled into one character, Marth?
Yeah, especially Lucina, because the only difference between Marth and Lucina is the sweet spot is gone on Lucina's sword. I think that's such a simple change. You could add some sort of customization option to Marth to give him that ability, and then you could just make Lucina an alternate costume, and it had the same effect.
With every game in Smash, the reason that clones are added is because they have that extra development time. That's not quite enough to create a full new character, but kind of to add these extra content. So in a way of you saying that they're filler content is exactly right. They only exist because they have limited amount of time that's available. For example, in Melee, the clones Roy, Dr. Mario, Pichu, they were probably only added, and Ganondorf, because the team had only a little bit of amount of time and not enough time to add a full newcomer.
Yep.
So personally, I would rather have that content, even if it is filler content, just because, there's sometimes those characters are the characters that I like. Wolf in Brawl is an example of that. Like, if we didn't have that extra development time where Wolf could have snuck in, then, a lot of people would be upset.
Yeah. Well, Wolf was a semi-clone at least.
Yeah, but he was still kind of added in under the guise of being a clone.
Yeah, he was last minute. He was a last minute addition.
Yep. And that's why he's not in the Subspace Emissary. So I think like with Smash 4 Wii U and 3DS, like they only had maybe 3 characters that could be considered clones, and that's Dr. Mario, Lucina, as well as Dark Pit.
Dark Pit.
So, and with those characters, I didn't really mind that they were separated from their original characters, because Sakurai said that he wanted to separate those characters because of record-keeping purposes. Because for example, if you played a lot of games as Lucina, then before they were separated, they would appear as just as under Marth. Then, so I don't think that they had enough. Like you were saying that if they were just kind of compiled into one character and they just had customization options, I think that would be difficult because it would only be those 3 characters that would have it.
Maybe if the idea was to begin with those sort of vast customization options, it would be more than just those 3. Maybe other characters might have those sort of more unique customization options. Sort of like, even if Pichu wasn't in, maybe they could have added like an option for Pikachu where his electric attacks damage himself, just to give him an optional playstyle.
I think like going into more and more customization, then the balancing just gets even more difficult. Like Smash 4 Wii and 3DS does have customized moves, but it's very difficult to kind of balance all those, and a lot of competitive players don't even turn on customization.
Aren't custom moves only balanced with their other counterparts and not the entire game?
Yeah, and to be fair, clones are balanced the same exact way. They're only balanced with their counterparts. But there's one character that has custom moves that are similar to his semi-clone counterpart, and that's Fox and Wolf. I think some of his custom moves are very similar to Wolf's attacks.
Before Lucas was added,
Yep,
Ness had all his specials
that's true too.
as ults.
But I think not having that character in the game and just having that options, it still felt like people were being cheated. Like people just want to have that avatar, they want to have that character in the game.
I was a bit I played Lucas a fair bit in Brawl. I was kind of annoyed that despite giving Ness those customs, they didn't use it as an opportunity to give Lucas some different specials for a change.
Yeah. So for you, you don't mind if characters are drastically changed between games?
It depends on the character. If they, for example, I think some of them work really well with the moves they have. I'm not just talking about like clones. I mean, like there's some characters who have original movesets who I feel need to change up as well. For example, I reckon out of all the characters in the original Smash Bros, the only one that doesn't quite represent the character right is Samus. I reckon maybe change the down special from bombs to a morph ball mode, and you could use bombs while in morph ball mode, and maybe make her arm cannon work how it does in 2D Metroid.
Yeah.
Rather than the charge shot, which you could keep as a custom special.
That's an interesting point that you brought up, because that's something that we've been thinking a lot on within the Source Gaming staff, is how characters were designed differently from each game. With the Smash 64, obviously a lot of those designs had to be simplified, whereas the newcomers in Smash 4 Wii and 3DS, they have very complex designs. And so when that character is introduced in the Smash series, they kind of have either simplified or more representative moveset of their franchise.
Yeah, Smash 4 added a lot more mechanically unique characters. Yep. I don't think there was like probably only like 2 or 3 characters that would like sort of fit in with older Smash design.
So there's some clashing going on between the different designs.
Yeah.
And I was talking with someone about Wario and how if he was introduced in Melee, his design would be totally different. And not only because of the lack of WarioWare influence, but because of the way that Melee just designed characters.
I personally think for Wario, instead of going fully WarioWare or fully Wario Land, it should be like half and half. Because both series are just as important to him. Yeah. So I don't think there should be that favoritism there.
Yeah, with Wario, it's more about just Wario as a character. They obviously pull a little bit more from WarioWare, but it's more about representing him as a character and how he is in Japan. But anyway, so I guess actually this is a good segue. Are there any clones in Smash right now that you would like to see change?
Yeah, there's a few. I won't talk much about it because this is the one everyone's talked about so many times, but I think the one in most urgent need of change is Ganondorf. I don't think he should be fully sword like some people suggest. I think he should have certain moves involve his sword, like smash attacks and maybe a few tilts and aerials. Other attacks like his specials and some other aerials would involve like dark magic. And then like he'd have a few regular attacks where he just uses his fists and feet.
Yep.
A major one for me is Toon Link, who he was my secondary main in Brawl. The Zelda series has like tons of items. It's like a major aspect of the series, so I think it's a big wasted opportunity that Toon Link uses the same items Link does, especially when Wind Waker had several exclusive items that haven't appeared in others. I like to see him use stuff like the Skull Hammer, Deku Leaf, and Grappling Hook in his moveset.
Yep.
I would have gave him the Bomb Chews as well because they were in Phantom Hourglass, but they made that an item. And as I said before, I like them to try out new special moves with Lucas. Like most of his normal moveset is fine because he's like pretty much unique. I just like to try out some different specials, like maybe give him PK Earth or PK Beam.
Yeah, for me, I would think that Ganondorf could have some changes, but I don't really like him using the sword, mainly because he didn't really use the sword in Ocarina of Time. And so, like, Ganondorf is a little complicated because you have like different versions of Ganondorf across the timeline, and trying to represent him, I think, through dark magic, I think it would be the most appropriate. But one clone that I would like to see change that you didn't mention was Dr. Mario. I'd like to see a little bit more of his game be referenced through his moveset. Right now, because Sakurai has the opinion that Dr. Mario and Mario are the same person, they can get away with using Yeah.
They are, though,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Well, in in a Mario Kart manga that was released in Japan, they are different people technically, but I think canonically they are the same person. So they have the same moveset because Mario and Dr. Mario are the same person, but I would like to see Dr. Mario still change up his movesets a little bit. Any
particular ideas, like for specific moves?
Not in particular, but I'd like to see some more maybe puzzle elements. I mean, you could. I've seen some fan ideas where they pull in like from Panel de Pon or Yoshi's Cookies as well, and make him kind of like a puzzle representative instead of a Mario representative.
When the ESRB leak happened and Dr. Mario was there, I was hoping at least they give him a new Final Smash.
Yep.
And when it got leaked, I was a bit disappointed. I reckon they could have done something like maybe he traps the opponents in like a giant bottle and then pills rain down on him, like what happens to the viruses in Dr. Mario.
Yeah, and him having that stage at least theoretically being worked on for Smash for Wii U and not be present in the game is a huge blow to my heart.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Mario, like, references not just the character, but like the music and stuff has been present since Melee, so...
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why he was added, is because Sakurai liked the music.
I also reckon you could, if you wanted to give him some new, like, attacks and stuff, maybe not just puzzle moves, but just stuff that reference being a doctor, like maybe whip someone with his stethoscope.
Yep, there you go.
Bash him over the head with a clipboard.
So, let's go on to Smash or Switch. Do you think there are any clone characters that you think are likely to be added into the next Smash?
Yes. I don't think there'll be many, but there's two I can see happening. The first is Alf from Pikmin 3, and that's because was it Data Mind? Is that how it was found out?
No,
he was meant to be a clone?
No, we translated it.
Oh.
It comes from Make About Video Games Volume 2.
Oh, so Sakurai actually brought it up.
Yeah. He left what is it? Some data entry, basically, like a spreadsheet of things that he wanted to be changed with Olimar, and one of them was about Alf, about seeing the possibility if Alf was possible to add.
Okay, so anyway, Alf was meant to be a clone of Olimar, but they just made him an alt.
Yep.
So I think they might follow through with that this time. And the other one was now this is only if she's not made an alt, but I think Ribbon Girl could be added as a clone of Springman, who I think is a likely newcomer, because ARMS is like a success like Splatoon was.
Yeah.
So I think they'll capitalize on that and add Springman, and then they'll probably have Ribbon Girl appear in some way.
Okay. For Alf, I don't know if his time is up or not, because with Pikmin 4 being under development, we don't know who the main character of that game will be, or what it even looks like. But I would definitely like to see another Pikmin representative in Smash.
If they do add Alf, although I'd rather him be unique, I like him to at least have some differences and not be a Lucina style clone, but more like this. I don't know.
I think the best way to differentiate Olimar and a potential new Pikmin representative would be giving them different Pikmin to use, because I think their core Pikmin mechanic could be the same, but if you change up what Pikmin they have and the kind of abilities of the Pikmin that they can pull have, then I think that would be an interesting way to kind of derive different movesets.
Well, Alf was, according to the code, was meant to have rock Pikmin.
Yep, that's right. So a lot of people suggest that maybe the purple Pikmin would be replaced with the rock Pikmin.
And maybe have white be for Olimar and Alf gets flying. I also think a good way to differentiate with them would make Alf have 3 and then make Olimar have 6 like he did in Brawl.
Yep.
And you could justify it with like Olimar's more experienced with Pikmin, so he has more.
Mm-hmm.
And
the reason that he was cut down from 6 to 5 is because the Pikmin models, they got more detailed, and I think the 3DS just couldn't handle it.
Yes, I think that problem probably won't be on the Switch though. They might keep it for consistency, but I'd like to see him have 6 Pikmin back. I don't really like.
I think Was it Dark Pit was more in line of how Brawl Pit was?
Oh, was he?
Was it? Maybe I'm making. I may be making stuff up.
I compared moves. He's got the same moves and animations.
Okay. So, do you think that clones have a place in Smash or Switch? Do you think they're kind of do you think that they're just gonna be there no matter what, or do you think that maybe as development gets tighter, that we won't see as many clones?
I think we'll see them because they've been a thing since the first game.
Yep.
I don't think Sakurai would ever stop doing them. I think it'd be more like if there's ever a time we wouldn't see a clone in Smash added, it'd probably be under a different developer if they have a different design philosophy in that area, and even that's not guaranteed.
Yeah. For me, clone characters are such a staple in any fighting game. I think that even in the Street Fighter series, there's still clone characters.
NetherRealm games, like the guys who make the recent Mortal Kombats and Injustice, those ones don't have any clones.
Oh, they kind of diversified Scorpion, Reptile, Smoke.
They were diversified early on. Reptile was only a clone in the first Mortal Kombat, but in that game he wasn't even playable. And as soon as he was playable in MK2, he already had a unique moveset. And then they did the same thing with Smoke and Jade, who were bonus bosses in 2, but they weren't playable. And in 3 they were, and they were made unique. I think the only playable clone in MKX, not MKX, Deception, was Sub-Zero, who was like a clone of Scorpion.
Oh, that's right. So any clones that you'd like to see in Smash or Switch?
To be honest, I don't want to see any. But
yeah.
That was funnier last time we talked about that. But I would, if we're talking about ones that weren't in Smash 4, I like Wolf to return at least because he was the only Star Fox character I enjoyed playing.
Yeah.
I don't like Fox and Falco's style.
Yeah, Wolf just feels so much better to play as. Yeah.
I would like him to get a few change up. I mean, mostly his normal moves are fine, so don't really change that. But I like a few new specials. I reckon in the final Smash, especially because we don't need 3 Land Masters.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want them to have different final Smashes, especially.
I think a cool idea would be to give him... It'd be pretty unconventional compared to other final Smashes, but to give him the Demon Launcher from Star Fox Assault, which is basically like a really powerful Angie rocket launcher or something.
Yeah.
So it's sort of work like an item, which is a bit unconventional for a final Smash.
Yeah, usually if they go off screen, then they can have that aiming style, or sometimes they'll just do a shoot, a light arrow kind of attack, but not really an item.
So it wouldn't work exactly the same, but things sort of like how you could run around with the Cracker launcher.
Yep.
From Brawl. That mobility while having a projectile item.
Yeah, I'd like to see Wolf be added back into the roster. Another clone character that I'd like to see added to Smash or Switch is Dry Bones Bowser.
I like Dry Bowser, but I like him as an alt.
Yeah, I think as an alt he would be fine. But as a clone character, he could also kind of serve up as a way to mix up Bowser's move a little bit more. Give him a little bit more speed instead of power, for example.
Yeah. I'd actually play Bowser a lot more if he had the Dry Bowser ult. Just because, I don't know, I'd play it because he looks cool.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that basically wraps up our discussion today. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
Not really, but I'd like to thank you for joining me to this discussion.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked about clones before, but I seemed a bit... the tone of text doesn't really convey that well, so I thought having a vocal discussion made it a bit easier to convey the tone of how I felt, because I sounded a bit hostile when I've talked about in text before.
I don't think you're particularly hostile, and I think that we do have different opinions on it, but it's just different opinions on it, and that's fine. I think the Smash fanbase would do really well to, instead of trying to be hostile towards people with different opinions, but to kind of embrace that and kind of try to understand where they're coming from. Well, where can people find you?
I have a Twitter, but I barely use it, but I'll try and check it at least once a week.
We'll be sure to include that in the description below. I'm PushDustIn. You can find me by subscribing to this channel. You can also follow me on Twitter at PushDustIn, and I'm on Source Gaming all the time. So thank you guys for joining us, and thank you, MagcargoMan, for joining me in this discussion.